right in this time. And I'll put the Nick, I'm going to put the link for the live stream if you want to share that, amongst your channels. If you want to have people just joining us through the YouTube live stream that we do. Let me go ahead and start the webinar.
All right. Good luck, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. We are letting folks in. There we go. Okay. Michelle, hello. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. Shall we kick her off?
We shall.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to another QB Power Hour. Today's topic is RIP to IOP. We're going to be talking about evaluating payroll services with our guest, ADP. So we're very glad to have you all joining us today. We've got some great information. My name is Michelle Long. I am a CPA with an MBA in entrepreneurship, the owner of Long for Success, speaker, contract trainer for Intuit for a long time now, author of 5 books. Check them out on Amazon. And also you'll see the links there to our QB Power Hour Facebook group. We'd love to have you join us for that. Dan, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, my name is Dan Long, owner of Danwith. I worked at Intuit for about 18 years. And just announced as top 10 pro advisor for 2021. Yay! I'm really excited and
congratulations,
flabbergasted, I think Dan. Is the best word.
That is a well-deserved recognition. That's awesome.
Thanks so much. And it's all your fault, Michelle. No, co-hosting today, we're also doing the co-hosting duties on the Wednesday workshop Wednesdays at schoolofbookkeeping.com as the chief content creator there. And I just put the finishing touches on tech editing for QBO for Dummies, the 7th edition, which should be in bookstores shortly. We have a guest, Jennifer, or Jen.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me, Dan and Michelle. Excited to be here. And Dan, congrats to you. That's an amazing accomplishment.
Thank you.
Yes. Yep. A little background on myself, guys, if you want me to give a quick intro. VP of the Accountant Channel Operations for ADP. So, hey, what does that mean? I've been around for 18 years. I started off in sales right out of college, have led multiple sales teams, and now get to work on the corporate side of things in our operations department. And really support the accounting channel and the accounting community in our strategic relationships, and also support our sales force. So we train and develop them, create programs, and really teach them how to work with accountants and bookkeepers, and to make sure we're catering to them as well as their clientele. That's what I do. And thanks again for having me on.
Very happy to have you joining us today, Jen. So little details about our QB Power Hour webinars. They are every other Tuesday at noon Eastern time. You can see on the schedule there, our next one is on November 23rd. That is Thanksgiving week. We will be here. Hope you can join us. Goodbye, IOP, and hello, QuickBooks Payroll. Dan and I are going to discuss a little bit in here about how Intuit is transitioning from the discontinuation of IOP to QOP, QuickBooks Online Payroll. So we're going to talk about it briefly today and let you know a little bit about what's going on there, but then Intuit's going to join us in a couple of weeks and go over some more of those details for you. Then on December 7th, we'll have year-end prep, helping to get you prepared for all those fun year-end duties coming up in January and around the year-end. So as you know, our topics on Power Hours are QuickBooks tips, third-party payrolls, marketing, pricing, various things like that. You can see the links there for the PDF of the slides for the current session that we're doing with ADP today, or any of our previous Power Hours. You can access the slides in there. The recordings are on the YouTube channel, and then you can listen to our podcast if you're on the go and commuting somewhere or driving or taking a good walk. You can listen to that podcast at any time. So as a reminder, a few housekeeping things. For the Q&A, if you have a specific question about payroll or ADP or a specific question for us today, please type those in the Q&A box, because in addition to Jen here and Dan and I answering questions, we've got Nick in the background to help answer some of your questions from ADP side of things as well. So put those in the Q&A box. It makes it easier for us to respond to those. Now, if you want to comment and chat with each other, I know you all are a very chatty group, which, by the way, I want to thank some of you all for joining Dan and I for that meetup that we had last week during QuickBooks Connect. We had quite a few of our QuickBooks Powerhouse or our QB Power Hour community joining us and chatting in there. So we loved that that camaraderie and that community. So join us in the chat today, though, to chat with one another and everything. And as I mentioned, the handouts are in that link where you can access all the handouts as well as the webinar archive. Dan, go ahead. All right, so first we're going to have Dan talking about IOP, Intuit Online Payroll, the migration plans, and then we're going to hear from Jen on offering payroll services and the potential when it comes to payroll. We were talking, getting ready for this, how payroll is so much easier now than it used to be, and they have so many resources for you. So we've got some great information coming up. So Dan, go ahead.
All right. So we'll start off with our first poll question. So how many clients do you manage payroll for? So where is the poll? There we go. And we'll just go ahead and launch that. So, Michelle was saying before, some of the things that she steers clear from is taxes and payroll. So
yes, but I'll tell you, payroll has gotten so much easier and so much automated. I mean, back in the day when I was doing payroll, if you had a client, let's say restaurants that had weekly payroll or something, I mean, you hardly could go on vacation, because if I was the one processing payroll, I would have to then estimate their hours while I'm gone, run the payroll. And then when I come back, I'd have to adjust for the actual hours. And so it was really time consuming and everything. But the way things are so automated now, and especially with apps and the resources that you can get to help with payroll, it's so much easier than it used to be. And it's very lucrative because the small businesses have to have it and they don't want to do it themselves. So it's a great opportunity for us now processing payroll. Dan, you've not processed, evil. Have you?
No, I mean, since I've left Intuit, I've talked to a few companies that have payroll, and I stuck with what I knew, which was QuickBooks Payroll, and yep. When we transitioned them from desktop to online, we just added the payroll. I mean, they were fairly a simple payroll company. It was a retail type of establishment where they clock their hours and they get their pay, but sometimes it gets a little bit more trickier. And I'm glad they didn't have to deal with any of the PPP stuff, because I would have been just floundering, trying to advise them on what to do there.
See, and that's where it's great. And I know Jen's going to share some stats with us, where as accounting professionals, we don't have to do it. We can outsource it, whether it's to ADP or Intuit or whoever we choose to. We don't have to actually do that. And ADP, I know, Jen, we were talking about some of the great resources that you have for us, like on that PPP and stuff. So very glad to have you sharing some of that with us today.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Looking at the poll, it looks like about 17% zilch. That they're in the Michelle Long group of payroll, but also about half, almost 40%, more than 5, where payroll is one of their core offerings. So got quite the gamut of folks today. So the first thing I want to talk about is what's happening within the ecosystem of QuickBooks Payroll. There was an announcement in May. You may have missed it. A lot of people did. About Intuit Online Payroll is being discontinued, and that's what we're kind of talking about today, because this is the event that typically triggers folks to go, well, what's happening? So let's talk a little bit about what's happening. And like Michelle said, Intuit's going to come on and give us a little bit more details about the transition. What's the plan? But the general gist, okay, you have in the Intuit payroll ecosystem, you have desktop payroll, which has 2 different options, enhanced and assisted. You have QuickBooks Payroll on the QuickBooks Online side, which are all full service payroll services, as referred to as full service is taxes and form filings are done for you. And they have 3 services: Core, Premium, and Elite. Well, in the middle was this standalone option called IOP, which is Intuit Online Payroll, which a little bit of history, a couple ex-Intuit employees created a company called PayCycle, and that was the payroll, the payroll engine behind Intuit Online Payroll because Intuit, in true Intuit fashion, saw a good product and acquired it, right? So what happened is the Intuit Online Payroll pay cycle became Intuit Online Payroll, and as well as the QuickBooks Online Payroll engine, right? So being able to do payroll online for Intuit Online Payroll and QuickBooks Online Payroll became pay cycle. So they had mirroring the desktop payroll services of enhanced and full service. So those were the two options there. I have a link in here on the slides about choosing the different payroll services for QuickBooks. So you should be able to take a peek at that, get more information about that. As far as accountants are concerned, there were two payroll options for accountants. You have desktop, which had enhanced payroll for accountants. So when we're looking at the options of assisted versus enhanced, this is an enhanced option. So that means that everything's a do-it-yourself, but for accountants. So you could add up to 50 EINs. You had the option for after-the-fact payroll. So that being that if I was managing the QuickBooks file at my firm, I could do the payroll, enter in the payroll through like an Excel spreadsheet type of thing, and it would create the paychecks in the file after the payroll was run. And then also you had the reporting agents for the forms in that service. In the online space, you had this Intuit Online Payroll for accountants. They referred to it as IOP4A, which had the enhanced option and full service. So again, we're talking about just the enhanced and full service, which was the assisted. So it's really hard. There's some kind of matrix that we really should have like a checkbox of what it's called, because as we talk to ADP, you'll find that there is an enhanced payroll option, but that has nothing to do with QuickBooks Enhanced Payroll. So we'll just keep that in mind, right? So the IOP4A was very similar to like the QuickBooks wholesale program where you got a discount and you could white label your payroll services for accountants who were doing payroll for their clients. And a lot of big companies, Bank of America, Costco, they had a payroll service offering which was run by the Intuit Online Payroll service. So you can kind of white label your payroll services with the IOP4A as an accountant, and then that would be the engine of actually what's doing your payroll, and then you can charge your customers whatever you felt like, right? So really what's happening here is that Intuit Online Payroll is going away, and all of the payroll services, I just lost it because it went away. It was the enhanced and the full service are turning into one of the QuickBooks Online Payroll services, Core, Premium, or Elite, as its own standalone, right? So you have your option of by default, this is what's happening. So if you had a client, or if your client or a customer is using Intuit Online Payroll Enhanced, by default it will go to Core, right? That will be the one-to-one option if you do nothing, right? The migration process. The nice part about the migration process is that you don't have to worry about setting up payroll, because it'll just migrate to a new subscription. So employees and pay rates and all those things, because having that, a couple slides ago, it's actually the same payroll engine. So it's a little easier for Intuit to actually just turn it into QBO Payroll. And now the user experience that you have when you log into QBO Payroll, you have it, right? It's already there. So there's a lot less setup. It's just the best to have an understanding as to what is actually happening, right? And ultimately what you'll have once it's done, right? If you had full service, that turns into Premium, which is the middle of the road option. As an accountant, whoops, I copied the slide. There we go. As an accountant, what'll happen is you'll be able to choose, if you had the IOP4A option, you'll be able to choose which payroll service you want to have your clients go to. So if they had enhanced, and maybe you want to bump them up to elite, you can certainly do that. Or if you want them to go to premium instead, if they have the payroll service offerings and you want to have them have the right fit, you can migrate them to that. Also, I shouldn't have copied the slides. Full service payroll for accountants also has that option. You can maybe downgrade them to core, because core offers is the only one that offers a self-service option of being able to pay your own taxes on your own time frame, as opposed to the full service.
So Dan, with the core, Donna was asking here about the user option to file the quarterly forms themselves and not through QuickBooks. So that would be with core, where you're going to be doing the filings on your own. It's your responsibility, or your client, whoever's doing it, with the core there. That's correct?
Yes.
Right,
so that's the only option to opt out of the tax forms and payments being done for you. I will caution of doing that because there is some money movement lead time that people didn't know about, right? So even though the form filing is January 31, a lot of states have maybe a 5-day pre-window, and that's 5 business days. So if that 31st ends up on a Monday, my goodness, you're going to need to process your payment at least a week ahead of time to make sure that it's done by then. And I've had to be the bearer of bad news when on the 25th of January, people it was showing that they were late. I'm like, well, I've got 6 days. I'm like, well, no, you don't. You have you had yesterday to do this. So, and I copied the slides. There we go. So there's a Firm of the Future frequently asked questions article. So I know a couple people have asked, well, what about the cost? What about, a lot of questions about this migration, this turning into, what does it cost? What is it? When will it happen? That Firm of the Future frequently asked questions article will give you some of that, and also just join us next QB Power Hour where we'll get more intimate into what that will actually do. But what you ultimately end up with is that there's one option now for QuickBooks for online payroll that can be a standalone. You can send it to QuickBooks Online. You can send it to QuickBooks Desktop. But as far as the online payroll space, it's consolidating from two different options into one. All right. Mouthful.
Well, Dan, one more thing. You're right, and you did a great job. But one more thing I wanted to mention to people is Intuit now in your Pro Advisor portal, you have a certified payroll class that you can take now. So you can go out and learn more details about payroll and get certified. So check that out in your Pro Advisor portal. And don't forget, Intuit will be coming on in a couple of weeks to give you all the details. I know there's some questions people were asking in there that I maybe didn't have the answer to. But join us for that in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, let me on our QuickBooks Power Hour landing page for today's webinar. There is a link. Somebody was asking, can you post a link for the Firm of the Future? It's in there. Where is it?
I'm getting it for him.
To repost it.
I just got it. I'll post it for him.
Yeah, we have a button for today's handouts, which also has the direct link, as well as the direct link to the Firm of the Future article as well. So the poll that's been launched is, what kind of payroll services do you currently offer? I mean, I don't. The thought of QuickBooks or the thought of payroll makes me ill. That's the Michelle option.
I'm coming around.
Or trusted referral partners, or the client runs it, I help, or you do a white label kind of a managed payroll option.
So one of the things I wanted to share here, because I know we've got some stats coming up on this, but, I've been, like I said, a contract trainer for Intuit for a long time. And over the years, I'd say 10 years ago, when we would look at what accountants are doing, either providing payroll, not providing payroll at all, or some kind of a hybrid method, it was pretty evenly split between the accounting professionals, like a third. A third of them wouldn't do payroll at all. They'd totally outsource it. A third of them did process payroll. And then there might be a third in the middle who was kind of a hybrid. And so I think it's interesting to see how that's changed when Jen shares some of these stats with us in a little bit. It's definitely changed what's going on. And I think we see that in these percentages here.
And one of these, I think one of the big things about this event, right? Like the news of this happening is it turns to be like a trigger event. Like, okay, I was involved with Intuit Online Payroll from 5 or 6, 17 years ago, right? And now that I got so comfortable with Intuit Online Payroll and it's going away to something else, maybe if I'm going to need to learn something new, maybe I should take this as an opportunity and learn the whole gamut of what else is out there, and maybe take a peek and see what other option, maybe something I didn't know that I was missing.
Dan, do you want me to go ahead and share my screen here?
Yes, I will go ahead and stop the sharing, and I'll share the results of the poll here. So it looks like about 38% are doing managed, some kind of managed payroll, kind of like white label system. And then we have followed closely by the client runs and I help. So almost 72% were really invested in the payroll process.
I'm not surprised to see that here. All right, let me know when you guys can see my screen okay.
You can. We see the market trends and challenges slide.
Perfect. Love those poll questions too. So let's dive into it. Dan, you mentioned trigger events. So if there's ever a time to evaluate other options, it's definitely now. And wanted to take a step back and just talk about some of the changes in the workplace and what our clients and really you guys have been navigating through. So of course, first and foremost, we've got COVID-19. That is top of everybody's mind. There's new legislation, there's new mandates, executive orders. Every day we're seeing something new. There's drastic spikes in unemployment, as we've seen, business closures, downsizing. I was so upset. I drove by my favorite Tim Hortons and it's closed. I'm like, how does Tim Hortons closed? Due to a lack of staffing, lack of labor. Cash flow is being disrupted. It's decreased if it's not disrupted. We mentioned the legislative changes. You talked about the PPP, CARES Act, FFCRA, ERC. I mean, you name it. It definitely blew, I think, everybody's minds. And there's a lot that went into trying to interpret the legislative changes and what it really truly meant. So it took a lot of time to do that, right? And then you look at the HR labor rules and regulations, they're constantly changing as well, especially in this COVID environment. And we mentioned labor shortages. So there's about 9 million open jobs out there currently, and there's a big lack of talent. And that's 100% what I know even the accounting industry is challenged with, as well as every other industry out there, and especially your clients. I'm sure you guys are seeing that. And then when you look at payroll industry disruptions, you've got the fallout from national ACH companies. I don't know if any of you guys remember My Payroll HR, that comes to mind.
Ooh, yeah.
Yes. So, again, like banks are cracking down on, smaller payroll companies that are withholding tax money, due to some of these big fallouts with major vendors. There's tighter rules and regulations, as we've seen, and then new regulations for electronic payments when it comes to child support orders, et cetera. So just a lot going on that we're navigating through right now. So let's take a look at the payroll industry overall. So, obviously it's not a surprise that payroll and bookkeeping, it declined a bit, right, through 2020. And what's exciting to see for all of us on the call today is projected revenue from payroll and bookkeeping is expected to outperform other payroll services through 2025. So that's pretty exciting for everybody on the call. Like, it's going to continue to increase. And I would say, like, what does that mean to you all? Well, there's a big window of opportunity for accountants out there. So a couple of stats. We love our stats here, but 78% say they need more traditional services beyond they need more services beyond their traditional services. So this is coming from accountants. So they're recognizing like, hey, I need to do more because there's a lot of challenges out there that my clients are facing that I should probably try to assist with or advise on. So there's recognition there. And then 62% of businesses want HR and talent insights from their accountants. And I know if we were to talk to any accounting professional, several years back, and if you said, hey, do you do any advising on HR and talent? They kind of look at you like you were crazy. I'm like, no, nobody wants to touch HR, right? That's just not an area you really want to dip your toe into. But I think with COVID-19, the legislation, navigating those changes, really, we've been put in a position where we've had to kind of give some advisory and had to do some research on our own. We may not be charging for it. It might not be a line item on our billing statement, but we're still dipping our toe in that water. And really, what does that mean? And if you look too at, the millennials that are starting their own practices, they're starting to offer, payroll services. That's a part of their option and kind of being that one-stop shop for these clients that are wanting more advisory services. So again, huge window for everybody here. And when it comes to payroll and designing your ideal payroll process, there's several different options, and we talked about it through the poll questions, and obviously Dan and Michelle chime in here. But your option one, process payroll in-house using an accounting software, some kind of payroll software, or it could even be manual. And I will say 18 years ago, ADP, part of our training as a new hire, you go to Jersey for 2 weeks, I had to actually do a manual payroll. And my goodness, it was awful. I'm like, who would want to do payroll in Excel or on a ledger card? It was so terrible, but it really made me realize like all the steps that go into processing payroll if it's a service I'm going to be selling or consulting on. So it was eye-opening for me. So if anybody's using a manual process, bless you. It's not easy to do.
And don't do it anymore. There's no need today.
Please no. Michelle and Dan, I've seen some. Where I live here, in some of the outskirts, they're still doing it through Excel. But of course, there's the accounting software that, QuickBooks, et cetera. Pros, you guys know, it's easy to bundle with other services. You've got frequent communication with the client, so that's a bonus to doing payroll. It can also lead to additional service offerings because you are communicating with your client so much and you truly understand what is happening within their business. Some of the cons, you often need dedicated staff to oversee the firm payroll function. And I will tell you, we're seeing a lot of accounting firms, bookkeepers that were doing payroll. Maybe it wasn't the owner processing payroll, but it was somebody else they had. And it was a key person that chose to leave or maybe retired or, got recruited by another firm. And it's not one of those job functions that a lot of people want to take on within the firm. And it's hard to find somebody that truly has the knowledge and wants to run payroll. So I've seen that be a huge trigger in the industry. There's added liability if a mistake is made. Michelle, it's probably why you don't want to deal with it. There's a mistake that never seems to go away, right? You're constantly dealing with it, 24/7 when it comes to, adjusting errors. Employees have questions about their pay statements. And then you obviously need to ensure your software is up to date. And I'll tell you what, through all the COVID legislations, I know ADP made 1,000 different changes to our software based on 2,000 legislative changes, which blew my mind. I mean, not surprising at all, but that's a lot. So you want to make sure your software is up to date and handling all those legislative changes.
Yeah, I know when the CARES Act first was launched, and a lot of people were asking questions about, PPP loans and those types of resources. I know, from my perspective, the Intuit payroll offerings were a little slow, to get that information out and available to people. But to their defense, they probably just wanted to make sure they were doing it right, But a lot of people needed that information faster, I think, than they were able to provide it. But when you're dealing with government agencies that are willing to change something on a dime, but then not really wanting to be forthcoming of how to change that dime, it gets a little challenging for sure.
Absolutely. Yes, it definitely does. I know that was a constant. It didn't seem like it was ever going to end with us, but we definitely were at the forefront and tried to get out all the changes and just put it in layman's terms too for our clients and for our accountants that needed assistance. So yeah, not a fun time, but hopefully we're past it, right? And then when you take a look at, outsourcing your payroll and partnering with a trusted advisor, referring it out, the pros are it reduces liability for the firm and the client, right? It's outsourced, it's off your plate. It's easier access to other integrated solutions that are going to streamline their process, like HR, timekeeping, benefits. And it's easy to set up and standardize. And I think standardize is one of those buzzwords out there, especially in the industry. I was at an accounting show in Florida yesterday, actually. And there was a lot of talk about just having a standardized process when it comes to payroll and really all of your business functions within the firm. When it comes to cons, there's less control, potentially more difficult access to client data, can greatly increase inefficiencies in the firm if you outsource to multiple providers and you don't have a consistent vendor that you're working with. That can cause some heartache and pains. And then no revenue back to the firm unless the provider offers that option. And then we've got hybrid, right? So you've got the best of both worlds. So you've got the same pros, right? For both options if you were to do payroll in-house or refer it out, and then of course the cons for both. So we see a little mix of everything in there, and you guys shared your stats and what you're doing, and it actually falls very much in line with a study that we recently conducted that was launched in Accounting Today in the October issue. So firms processing in-house or payroll in-house, 52% of them are out of the 9,000 that responded. 17% outsource the payroll. So I think I don't do payroll. It makes me ill. 17% of you guys out there said the same thing. You refer it out. Don't know if it makes these people ill or not. And then they offer both, like that hybrid version, there's 31%. So Michelle, you mentioned like those that are touching payroll, those percentages have definitely gone up over the years. And I think it's due in part to having great software and then great partnerships, right, from vendors. I don't know if you guys have anything to add there.
No, just, that 52% number, like I said, you've got a huge increase or a big increase. I don't know if it's huge, but a big increase in accounting professionals that are doing payroll now compared to, let's say, 10 years ago or something like that. Because as you mentioned, you've got the tools and the technology there to make it more efficient for us. It wasn't all that efficient in the past, but now it is way more efficient. So, it's like I saw Don Bobbitt was mentioning on there that he's starting his practice up again, and he didn't really think, or someone else said they didn't really think that payroll can be profitable. It definitely is, especially as it's gotten more complex over the years. The small business owners are kind of happy to pay to have payroll done because they know it's going to save them a lot of headache and keep them out of trouble. So it's a lot of opportunities for us. And I'm glad to have you here sharing some of this with us, Jen.
Absolutely, yes. And I will say, we see it often too, me being in the industry for 18 years and working with clients, and they want to partner with their firms. They trust, number one trusted advisor are the bookkeepers, their accountants, and if you're offering payroll, more likely they're going to work with you if it's something that you offer. I'll tell you, I had a sales team or a region of 35 sales associates, and when they cold call or try to get into businesses and the business was using an accountant, I said, don't waste your time. That is a relationship that you are not going to break. Like, go after our competitors. They're already outsourcing. Like, you're not going to sell them, on coming over to ADP unless there's a huge need or a trigger. They're not happy with their firm. So, I think if you price it right, it can definitely be a big moneymaker and your clients appreciate it. And you've got the software and support to back you.
And the thing that I really like about what you guys offer is that you can fit with any of those columns.
Yes.
You can have the service, the hybrid, or the white label type of thing.
Yes. Yep. And we'll definitely touch on those different, flexible options as well, but you can do all three with us. And as the firm's needs change, you can obviously continue, we'll adjust with you there, which is awesome. So when it comes to, your payroll, so this might be painful, Michelle, for you to walk through, right?
I know.
The payroll process. But, there's a lot of components to it. So, for, those of you guys, if you haven't thought about it in a while, again, big trigger event, it's time to take a look at, what goes into it if you are processing payroll, and do you have, a standardized process when it comes to verifying employee information, collecting hours from clients. I know that could be painful sometimes, inputting into the software. And then of course, on the back end of it is direct deposit, live checks if those clients want them, and if it's something that you guys offer, and then the tax filing piece of it. So I think, the front end is typically the easiest part of it. It's the back end if you don't have some kind of automated solution or software that's going to do that for you. Because I know it can be a nightmare logging in and out of state websites to make those tax payments. And it can be a burden. I know I've seen it as I've consulted with various CPA firms. But again, what does that defined process look like? And then who doesn't love Michael Scott? The guy makes me laugh. Gotta love The Office. I watch the reruns all the time. But process, if you're sitting there, this is your face, definitely something, a huge takeaway actually from this call is to go take a look at what does that look like within your practice. So we have
another
poll question. Yes, it's a good one.
Right. And speaking of that process, while we're doing this poll question, that's where, Jen, yes, going back through that process was painful, remembering how tedious it can be and all that. But that's where technology has made it so much easier. Yes. Now with an app on their phone, employees can clock in and clock out and do things like that so that you've got their hours automatically. When you said input into the payroll process, that can automatically be there. It can be a matter of reviewing it and making sure things look okay. If a supervisor or manager has to approve overtime, they can do that on apps and things like that. So having the technology has made that process so much easier and more efficient, and less opportunities for errors, although they still happen, but you don't get those input errors or adding up the hours wrong or something like that, which necessitates changes. So just the technology and the tools that we have today just make that whole thing so much easier.
They do.
I feel like a really old person talking about back when I was a kid and it was this deep and I walked that many miles. Back when I did payroll.
I entered timesheets in the snow uphill both ways.
My green ledger pad. The 18
I remember,
columns.
We didn't even have an online option. It's just when I talk to some of our newer associates about that, I mean, I'm definitely aging myself too. Like there was no online platform. When I started, it was, we're a technology company and we've got all these great HR tools to help our clients out, and we didn't have it. So it was just our reports. I would talk about how great our reports were. I'm like, how exciting is that? I mean, it is, but now it's just, there's so much more. So it's definitely evolved quickly.
And this is funny. Denise says the colored pencil tick marks. That's right. I remember I had a special pencil that was red on one end and blue on the other, because you had to tick and tie everything. And yes, they meant different things and everything. That's funny. Trip down memory lane. Thank God we don't have to work like that anymore.
No kidding.
All right. So let's go ahead and share the results here. It looks like 37% wanting to add services like payroll to their plate. I've got a preposition trouble in my answers there. But yeah, so this is very timely.
Definitely. Nice. All right. We'll keep it going here. So how do you activate change, right? So we're talking about all these great things, and it looks like 37% want to add payroll, which is awesome. So, this is really meant to be kind of more open dialogue, but, things to think about, like we talked about, does your current method of client payroll processing really align with your future? And we're having a lot of conversations with firms now, a lot that are past the tax deadline, right? The major tax deadline, October 15th, and they finally have time right now to take a step back and really reflect and look at their internal business processes and look at 2022 and to figure out what worked over the last, call it 18 months, and what do I want to change and what do I not want to do anymore? That's really burdened me. And, that's something, again, for you all, and you're probably going through that right now. What kind of role does it play? What services are you offering clients that are going to differentiate you from other accountants, other bookkeepers out there? What are you doing different? And I know we talked a lot about advisory services and that, clients are really wanting more advice from firms. You know, they're really struggling with labor and talent, and they've got to have the employees, you know, their biggest asset. So you can play a role in helping them there. You don't need to be certified in HR, and we'll talk more about that here in a bit, but something to think about and chew on. And then, are you advising your clients on new ways to work, like we talked about before? And does your current service offering really support these demands of what they're facing today? Because really, our service offerings are driven by our clients, and it's what they need and want. So again, those are more rhetorical questions to think about. And then, Dan, I don't know, Michelle, did you guys have anything to add before we dive into choosing the right payroll and HR provider?
No, I think you're doing great. You got good information, so I don't want to stop you now.
All right, we'll keep it going. I get on a roll sometimes. I get excited. So when it comes to choosing the right provider. So we've got a payroll and HR technology checklist. Notice we said technology. So Michelle, you mentioned that before. You know, technology makes all the difference. It's got to work. It's got to be there. It helps you be more efficient. Your clients are happy, and then you guys will make money, right? You're able to bill and make money and increase revenue and profitability. So a trusted brand is key. QuickBooks trusted brand. ADP has been around for a long time, 70 years. And we do cater to small companies. So I meant to mention that at the very beginning. It is a common misconception that we only work with those large national companies. You know, since day one at ADP 18 years ago, I've only worked with small companies. Average client has, 10 or less employees. And there are tons of one employee or one single owner S corps that we do as well. So common, misconception there is that we're only focused on the big guys. Not the case at all. In fact, most of our clients are small businesses. So we've got about 700,000 of them out there right now. And we work with hundreds of thousands of CPA firms as well. And it's a couple of different ways that I'm going to touch on. Cloud is important. Go ahead, Dan.
No, I mean, my first introduction to ADP was as an employee of Intuit. Amazing that they didn't use their own payroll service, but it was too complicated, to set it up inside of QuickBooks. But that's what I likened ADP to. It's like, okay, they're the Coca-Colas of the world, but as we've had conversations, your bread and butter is actually small businesses, not just the Pepsis of the world, right?
Exactly. Yep. It is 100%. And that's all I know. So when I do hear that from, an accountant, bookkeeper, I'm like, what? That's how I grew up at ADP, is small business. But, we didn't always do a lot of advertising until our amazing marketing team, shout out to Nick, came around, and we're definitely getting more aggressive in, leveraging technology and the social media platform. So you guys, I'm sure, will start to see more if you don't already on that piece. But again, like easy access to client data in one place, that's big. It's a huge time saver for you guys. Digitized client onboarding, less paper, right? And especially in this remote, environment that we're working in, that's crucial and that's important to help with your efficiencies. Mobile friendly. I think we talked about it a little bit earlier. Like, I don't like to log into even my bank when I do in my, personally, unless it's on my phone. Like, I pretty much do everything on my phone. So having that mobile capability, especially for your clients and for their employees, is really key and very attractive to them. And then flexible partner methods, which we'll talk about, competitive pricing. This is big, near and dear to my heart, dedicated support team. That's important, right? Like when you choose any company, any vendor, I know I'm very passionate about that. And in working with accounting firms my entire life, as well as training sales associates on how to work with accounting firms, I tell them, I'm like, they have to like you first. They have to know, like, and trust you as a person. You have to follow up and do a great job. But then you have to have a dedicated support team to assist whenever they need help. We could have the best product on the market, but if they're not getting service, guess what? They're not going to refer you business and they're not going to want to work with ADP. So love that one right there. And then one that offers, more services, right, that integrate with payroll, workers' comp, health and benefits. Health and benefits is so crucial, especially in this day and age because of the tight labor market. And, it's an employee's choice at this point in time. They're going to look for more money, and you better believe they're going to want to work for a company that offers benefits. And we've got some really great packages as well that we can offer, through you guys or to your small clients that are looking to offer H&B. retirement, time and attendance, hiring and talent management's big, and then connectivity to external apps. So we do have an ADP marketplace with about 300 different apps or partners that integrate with our payroll solutions now, which is exciting. So what we say is we never say no to integration there. So we'll keep it rolling here. And what makes this different? I kind of already teased a little bit of these things, but we do have the flexible partner methods. And you're probably thinking, Jen, you've mentioned this. Can you just get to it already? We have the most complete set of solutions. So we're really proud of all the different services that we do offer that really you can pick and choose from. It's a menu of options, and it's dependent on the client and you really, as their trusted advisor, quick and easy insights. And of course, we talked about service, which you guys know I'm super passionate about. So as we dive into what's different about ADP than QuickBooks? Again, ADP, our bread and butter is payroll, right? Payroll, and then we have a lot of the ancillary services that we now integrate within our payroll. But we have a dedicated accountant help desk, and I will tell you, this was the biggest game changer to me, when I was in the field working with firms, because you can call into this help desk. It's a team that's dedicated to just taking phone calls from accountants as well as sales associates. So they're there to support you all and your clients, because it's important that we keep you happy so you continue referring business to ADP, right? And we keep your clients happy. We have up to 75% revenue share for referrals over to ADP. So new clients you refer over, which is one of the most lucrative revenue share programs that we know of, or at least that we've been told. Advanced state unemployment insurance management tools to help our clients out there, which has been, obviously spiked over the last 18 months. Robust portals for employees to manage their personal data, their personal information, and to make updates, real time. Access to payroll data anywhere, and advisory tools through Account Connect, and we'll double tap into that here soon. Client onboarding, we talked about G2 rating, peer reviews of 4.5 out of 5 stars. We talked about we've been in business for a long time. So we were the pioneers in the payroll industry and have evolved from that, over the last 70 years, which is exciting. On the HR side, so a lot of times too, we've got our bread and butter is payroll, but one of our biggest separators or differentiators is the HR piece of it. And we mentioned, your clients are dealing with, tight labor market, they're struggling to staff, they're struggling to keep their people. So HR is that buzzword and something that they really need help and support on. And they typically don't have somebody, staffed, that they're paying through payroll full-time to help out with it. Or worse, I've heard from some accountants, they're like, oh my gosh, my clients will go hire this expensive consulting company to help them out with HR. They don't necessarily need that. They don't need something that robust. So where's that sort of in between to give them what they need and to help them be proactive instead of reactive? And that's where ADP comes into play with an employee handbook wizard. We've got employee assistance program, or EAP, which is huge right now, obviously, with mental health issues. COVID-19 return to work assets. I mean, there is a whole website dedicated to COVID-19 and all the different assets that we have out there. Job postings through ZipRecruiter. Again, we make it very easy for our clients to post for jobs, run background checks. We have professional employer organizations, or PEOs, should that be a good fit. Tax credits and incentive programs. Data analysis tools here that our accountants can tap into to better advise their clients. Business valuations, we partner with, several different companies, BizEquity being one, where you get a very nice discount through BizEquity to utilize their business valuation tools. Industry profile reports, we had a screenshot earlier on the payroll industry, but you've got access to IBIS ruled reports on really any industry that you're looking for. And, those are typically about $200 a pop. And you'll have access to those for free, complimentary through ADP. And then access to free and discounted legal services as well, the clients have access to. So there's a lot on the screen here. So I know there's a lot of words, but just wanted to make sure, we were visualizing and showing you guys, like, there's a lot that ADP brings to the table when it comes to payroll.
It's not
HR.
one size fits all, right? And that's really the way you guys approach things is finding out what exactly they need and right fitting them for the right payroll service. Because it's not like, because I know, the other payroll services that are out there, not just with QuickBooks, it's upfront pricing, and then we find out what's included in that, and oh, well, then you need this one if you want actually that one, right? And then because there's some folks asking, well, how does this compare to X, right? It really doesn't, like, it just doesn't compare to Intuit even, because of the gamut of things, the Pandora's box that you could eventually open when it comes to, well, I need this for my payroll service, right? So being able to hire or having an employee, handbook, there are some options with the QuickBooks Online Payroll, but I mean, things like garnishments, and retirement, and the things that, you would basically be done with, set it, forget it. And, ADP will handle all that. But how do you handle all that when you're using QuickBooks Online, payroll service that doesn't do those for you? What happens when you're late? Those types of things. So those are things that are considered, to consider when evaluating, another payroll service offering.
Absolutely. Yep. Good add, Dan. And finally, the ways that we can work with, firms, these are very flexible and can be integrated. So it's not just one choice, but you can process payroll using our software really as a service. So it's our wholesale option, very popular option that a lot of firms are choosing to utilize. And we'll get into that in a second. Earn revenue for referrals. We talked about that, referring clients over and earning revenue. And then selling your payroll book. If you're looking at you're processing payroll right now, and it's not, one of your core services that you want to continue offering into the next year, we do have an appetite for acquiring payroll businesses and have a very nice multiplier that we'll provide to you or give to you while you still keeping you connected to your clients through Account Connect, which is our portal. So when it comes to processing payroll using Run for Partners, which is our wholesale solution, there's discounted pricing and there's a discounted pricing tier. So we're really giving your clients, that ADP kind of look and feel, but it is white labeled. So they're still coming to you for service, which is what they typically want, but you're using our software to process payroll. And a lot of clients, a lot of firms are thinking, oh gosh, what are they going to say if I use ADP? I've been selling against you guys. And you just say, hey, like, there are some really great services that ADP offers. And by the way, we have a letter that you guys can customize and send to clients if it makes sense. But here's why we chose to utilize this software versus what we were currently doing, because it's going to better serve you. You can resell a lot of the HR tools that I mentioned, timekeeping, retirement being one, workers' comp. So you can resell some of those ancillary services that you may not be able to today through QuickBooks. And again, 100% in the cloud. It's easy client onboarding. There's a dedicated support team as well within ADP. And of course, you have your dedicated support sales associate that, Dan actually and Michelle work with. So you've got somebody that's there to help you, not only on the sales, but the service side of things. And then you can also become certified. So you can definitely get your badge of honor there with our certification program that we have. When it comes to earning revenues for referrals, so creating an additional revenue stream, you can earn up to 75% like we talked about, and it only takes 3 to start earning credit there. A lot of firms love this. They're looking to standardize their process. The 17% that it makes them sick to think about payroll, they don't want to touch it. This is your program. So you would refer it to ADP. You still stay connected with those clients through our portal, and you could still, jump in and run payroll for them every now and again if they need some help, or they're an S Corp and have to do that year-end payroll, and you're worried that they're maybe going to mess it up. Like, you can always jump in and process through our portal as well. But again, you're not necessarily losing the connection with the client, and we do have other revenue share programs for workers' comp, R&D tax credits, and more. When it comes to selling your client base. So we have a team, an amazing team that I've worked with. Gosh, Wendy has been here for 18 years, but she'll walk through and talk with accountants that are processing payroll. And it may not be the time now, but we give complimentary valuations of what the payroll practice is worth. And a lot of times it's worth more than just selling your firm. So it's worth taking a look at payroll as a standalone and trying to figure out, when it comes to retirement or a succession plan, what can I get for this part of the business? And once you go through and you see what the multipliers look like, it might be an area that you want to grow, right? Like, you may want to grow your client payroll base and maybe increase fees. And like I said, clients will pay more. They come to you for a reason. They trust you guys, and they'd rather work with you maybe sometimes than, an outside provider, unless you recommend it. So there's a tried and true process when it comes to selling through ADP. And then here are all the other services, again, that we have to offer that are integrated that we have talked about. So I'm not going to go into huge detail here because we did touch on them in a previous slide, but really anything that your clients need are here, and you pick and choose, or the client picks and chooses what makes the most sense for them and their needs today. It could change next week or a year from now, but they pick and choose what makes sense, and the pricing is based accordingly. Something that we're very excited about is our new launch of Run. So Run is our platform not only for retail. So if you were to refer a client directly to ADP, they would use Run, but we also have the same solution on our wholesale side of things as well. Some of the new additions or new features, it's faster. So we're proud about that. And there's an intelligent search button. I don't know about you guys, but I hate trying to click buttons and find things within a software solution or website. If I can just go in and search, it's a huge time saver and makes everybody's life so much easier. So that's something that we're excited about. Smarter, obviously, again, there's less stress, less errors. So we've got, the calculation piece there, and then easier. So there's a personalized dashboard for all of our clients. So it helps them be more efficient with payroll and saves them time. And there's also step-by-step guidance there.
So a question that's been coming up a lot about the Run powered by ADP. If we try to put this over top of what QuickBooks payroll service offerings are, where would this stack up? Is this the Intuit online payroll piece that's going away, or is it the QuickBooks online payroll piece? And of course, everybody wants to know, well, how does this sync to QuickBooks? How does this work to QuickBooks?
Absolutely. That's a very good question. So when you use our Run for partners wholesale platform, essentially, you are outsourcing, and I'm trying to remember the exact packages, but you're outsourcing the tax liability. So it's almost that full service aspect of us taking out, we calculate taxes, we'll initiate direct deposit. By the way, it's 24/7 direct deposit. So you just need to hit submit on your client's payroll by 4:00 or 4 p.m. the day before. Direct deposit will hit their account Friday. So that is one thing that firms absolutely love, is having that, more time to process payroll. Not that you want to wait till the last minute, but sometimes with cash flow, clients don't get you their information. So that's been a big win, but it is more of you're outsourcing the tax liability, the ACH transactions, and really all you have to do using our Run for Partners program is be the face of it. So you're still servicing your client. Your client can actually do the data entry if you'd like to give them access to do it. And you ultimately hit that button, though, of approval and send it to ADP. So that's the big difference there. So I'm trying to remember the packages, but it's more of the enhanced kind of version. But we bill you directly. So it's a discounted rate. It's a tiered discount depending on the number of clients you bring over. But there's one bill for the firm once a month that details what you pay per client. And then you turn around and charge the client whatever you see fit. And we've got a lot of firms that have a great model.
Do the clients know that it's an ADP powered thing, or is that completely kind of hidden to them?
So the website is white labeled. So you can put, you customize it with the, firm logo, but on their bank transaction statement, it will say, the ACH will come from ADP when it comes to the tax debit and payroll debit, depending on what they have set up. I will say that is the number one concern of every firm I've ever worked with. And they're like, I'm worried about telling my clients that we're going to be using ADP. They never care. They don't care what it's basically a software shift. And if you explain the whys behind it, they usually like our technology a lot, and especially the clients or the employees, because they can go online to grab their pay statements, and the client actually likes the Run interface a lot better many times.
Okay, we've got a few more slides to cover in a short amount of time. So let's.
Yep. So I will talk super fast. So HR solutions, we hit on a lot of these, but these are the most popular, right? Live HR help desk clients can call into Handbook Wizard, ZipRecruiter, job descriptions, new hire toolkit, background checks. There's employee training. We talked about our marketplace as well. So this is another one that's like, there's a lot going on in this slide. Over 300 different partners that sync up and integrate with payroll, Expensify being one, T-Sheets, to throw a couple out there. And then really tying it all together is our Account Connect platform. So definitely encourage you all, if you're not registered today, It's our complimentary portal that houses tons of resources on it, as well as payroll reports for those clients. So it's your one-stop shop to access payroll reports. And there's also some HR analytical tools, which is like a whole nother conversation for another day. But again, I encourage you all to take advantage of it and register today to see what we have out there. When it comes to all the resources. And we talked a lot too about our servicing. So very proud of this. This is big. We have the staff we talked about. You have kind of like an online portal where you can update or upload tax notices and amendments. And then your clients have 24/7 support that they can call into, especially those clients that might be running payroll outside of normal business hours. We have some FAQs too when it comes to switching, embedded the link here, and I'm sure the deck will be shared as well, so you guys can check that out. And then here's some quotes too from QuickBooks Pro Advisors, you guys. They may look familiar to you and just, how much they love ADP and kind of some feedback from them when it comes to working with us, our partner programs, and leveraging our Account Connect dashboard, which is the portal that I just mentioned to you guys. So website again, adp.com/accountant if you want some more information on those programs. And then Dan, I'll hand it back to you.
Yeah, so we'll launch the last poll questions. What are your next steps with ADP? I think some of this stuff, I think you'll need to come back and help dissect some of these resources that you have here.
Yes, I was going to say, even if you all aren't going to use ADP at this time, go check out their Account Connect area, because I went out there the other day. There are a lot of great, helpful resources out there, so I encourage you to go check those out. And I know ADP, you guys have a lot of great information. We're going to have you back to join us a little bit later. We really couldn't spend as much time on all this right now. I do have to jump off, everyone, because I have another webinar, so I'm going to leave you all in Dan's capable hands. But thank you, Jen and Nick and everybody for joining us today. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Michelle.
Bye, Michelle. Bye. So I was just looking at some of the questions. Are there any legal concerns with the HR, like being that do they need to have some kind of protection for offering the HR services, or is everything just offloaded to another your HR partners?
Right. So we provide guidance when it comes to HR. So, if you recommend ADP directly, we have an HR package. And then again, if you're using our Run for Partners wholesale, there's kind of the same HR features that you can add on and then resell to your clients. But we always like to say we'll give guidance, but it's not necessarily legal advice. If there's a specific situation the client is dealing with, they definitely want to consult legal advice. We at least provide, the platform and guidance that they need, and we'll directionally tell them what they should be doing, but it's not legal advice, if you will.
Gotcha. All right. Okay. So any final thoughts that you had, Jen, about everything that you kind of encapsulated today? I mean, just so much it's a big buffet of payroll when it comes to ADP, I think.
There's a lot. I would just say, because there is so much, we love to build that personal relationship. And there are 2,000 sales associates across the country that are dedicated to working with accountants. So, if you're interested, you can definitely reach out to me or Dan, Michelle, and they can get you connected to me, and we'll align you with a local rep that can really find out what your needs are and figure out what program makes the most sense for you in the direction you're taking your firm in 2022.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for joining us. I know you guys will be back in about a month or so when you help us out with some of the year-end payroll services. And join us next time when we have Intuit talking a little bit more detail about the plans of how things are migrating away from IOP, the time frame, the costs, all the details that you're dying to know about how that's going to play out. Jen, and thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate all the wealth of information. And then for those that are using this as a moment to evaluate some other options, don't forget that ADP should be part of that conversation. So we'll see you next time. We'll see you next time on